back everyone to another episode of the Lodhi Roundup. I am your host Majid Lodhi. I've been in the real estate industry for a decade and practiced mainly in Toronto, York and Durham. But I've done business all over the GTA. Today we have a special guest on the podcast. This is someone who I've known for a few years, someone I've worked with in the pre-con condo side, and someone who I believe is working on one of the best master plan communities in Toronto. During this conversation, we will learn a lot more about her, the builder she works with, the pre-con condo market, and some amazing incentives they have going on right now. So rather than me introducing the guest, I will let the guest tell us more about who she is. Alexandra, welcome to the Lodhi Roundup.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with you, and I'm very happy to have this beautiful office that we're able to host this podcast in. Crosstown has a really spectacular on-site presentation center.
100%.
And this is a perfect setting.
100%. I think the office and the aesthetics and the whole feeling is amazing. It looks good, and when I would assume when people come here, it makes them feel nice as well. And I think that was probably the vibe that you guys were going with the office, because it looks really nice.
Definitely. We've been waiting for a long time, as you know. You've been working with us for a handful of years now. And originally we were selling Crosstown out of Building B in Concord.
Yes.
So we're very happy to be on site and next door to the construction that's happening and watching the project grow.
100%. And I think we'll eventually get into this, but the land itself, the project, the magnitude of everything here is quite a lot to talk about. So eventually we will get into that. But before we get into that, I want me to learn more about you a bit. I know we have worked on the project for a few years, but when I come here, it's all about the client, and we just basically talk to them, give them the details, and we're gone, right? But who is Alex?
I've been with Aspen Ridge for 19 years. I started as an administrator with Aspen Ridge Homes. I've always been curious about real estate. It wasn't something that I necessarily saw myself in from an early age, but I got really interested in real estate when I purchased my first condo.
Okay.
I purchased my first condo as a pre-construction condo, and this was in 2003 or 2004. So at the beginning of the first onset of condos in Toronto. So really when the market was just starting up. And I thought it was a really interesting process. My parents always went to offices of builders looking at homes and townhomes. So as a kid, I always tagged along with them and bringing home all the floor plans and looking at all the floor plans. I always had a little bit of an artistic side, so floor plans really always interest me. And when I had the opportunity to have any chance to draw with graph paper, floor plans are often what I would do as a kid. So later on, when I became, I think I was 19 at that time, when we were, a friend of mine bought a condo downtown, and she was a couple years older, and my parents encouraged me to look at the opportunities of condos and home ownership, as that was something that was, for somebody coming to Canada, as you probably know with lots of your clients, it's harder to get into the market. Our parents had to save, and the pride of ownership is something that was very important. So they really encouraged me to try and step foot into the market. And so when a friend of mine purchased a condo, I went to the presentation center, took a look around. Didn't seem like it was something that I was able to afford, but with some encouragement and saving a lot, it was something that I signed up for as a pre-construction. Later on, in about 2 years later or so, I reached out to the agent who sold me the condo that worked for the builder, and I asked her, you know, I'm thinking about getting into this business. Explain to me, how did you do it? I really like how she presented the project to me, because I never felt like she was selling me on something. She was just educating me. And it was, I'm a little bit of a type A personality. I had my notebook, I had everything written down, I had everything kind of organized, and I really like how she had all the time for me. She was able to explain everything, and that's now what I try to do with 100%. People coming into the office. But that's how it kind of started for me, was with the purchase of a pre-con. And later on, that agent actually, when I reached out to her, she informed me that she was moving to a reputable builder, a builder in the 905 area that is starting to get into condos, and that was Aspen Ridge.
Okay.
So I joined Aspen Ridge in 2006 as an administrator. She encouraged me to learn kind of from the ground up, get my license while I was doing the admin work, and that's the path that I went on, and here we are.
And did you in any way wanted to be in sales, or you just wanted to be in real estate?
Real estate, really, but I think just as somebody younger, I got into this business when I was 21 years old, so I was young.
Yes.
I didn't have very many serious jobs before, if we can say that.
Okay.
Any job that I did have, I always took it seriously, but they were jobs mostly in sales as I was going through school and as I was kind of finding my way. So sales has always been a part of the process for me. Yeah.
Perfect. And what did you go to school for?
I didn't go to school for this. I ended up
perfect.
going to through the process of this business through learning through.
And I think that's the best
practice.
way, because you have gotten
Yeah.
the knowledge, the experience, and somebody who I guess gave you all the details from the ground up, right?
And it was nice too, because Aspen Ridge, although they had a long history already of being home builders, and of course the development side that the family has been doing for many years now, over 52 years now. It was nice to be with a builder that is a reputable builder, but the condo industry was growing as I entered the business.
Yeah.
So together with Aspen Ridge, with Richard, my former partner who now retired, we were all kind of new, and we had very good support behind us. And so it was I'm very fortunate to be where I was and where I am.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, education, right? So where the initial interaction that you had with an agent, she really educated you about the product, the project, and took it step by step where you felt comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's the approach that I normally take in my business. I know that's the approach that you take when I bring clients to meet you. And I feel that's the best way, because it's not that we can hoard the information now, or like just keep it to us and not give it to our clients, because at times clients know more than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best approach to just educate them, and then eventually they become partners with you on this transaction that you're working on, rather than a client and agent relationship, right? So
Of
I
course.
think that approach is really nice, and I know that's the approach that you do take, and I know, I guess you have seen that approach work, which is quite nice, right?
Give them all the information, let them make an educated decision, and a choice that they're ultimately comfortable with, right? I mean, it's a big decision. It's one of the biggest decisions for many people.
Yeah.
So you have to have all of your, you have to have all the cards on the table, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. And it just helps the process move along smoother.
Of course.
Right. As far as Aspen Ridge, so I know we talked a little bit about who Aspen Ridge is, and they are one of the reputable builders in the GTA market, and they have done a phenomenal job. And what's your role with them? So let's talk a little bit about Aspen Ridge, I guess, who they are and what their values are, and then what's your role with Aspen Ridge?
Aspen Ridge Homes has been around for over 33 years now. The parent company behind Aspen Ridge Homes, DG Group. Aspen Ridge is not only a home builder, but they have an umbrella behind, which is also the development side. Metros Properties, a sister company, is also a office, retail, commercial, industrial builder and developer. So it's a company that has a lot of different facets to it within the real estate industry. I happen to be on the residential side, but having that backing and having those resources behind us, and having a lot of land also is something that homeowners, agents, should be informed about. You know, who you're working with, what is their history, what is their experience, and fortunately, Aspen Ridge has many hats in this industry.
Okay, and your role with Aspen Ridge?
Sales representative.
Okay.
I've been a sales representative since 2008.
Okay, okay. And in terms of, I guess, the project itself, so I know Crosstown is, I guess, what the topic is today, right? Figuring out what is Crosstown, why Crosstown, because I know the area really well. I used to live at Don Mills in St. Denis for many years. I went to school at Don Mills in Overlea. This is at Don Mills Eglinton, and I know the LRT on Eglinton that's being built. So everybody knows about Don Mills Eglinton, or at least the Eglinton line because of the LRT, right? There's been construction going on for years on it. I think now it's almost done. Hopefully the LRT runs soon. But the land, right? So we're sitting on, I think there were a few people that were on this land. There were a couple of big businesses that we can eventually get into, but it's a huge piece of land here that you guys have taken on to repurpose and build it into townhouses, condos, park, with commercial. So unpack all that for me.
So in 2018, Aspen Ridge acquired 64 acres. Originally, it was IBM and Celestica. You're right. It was definitely a notable name here on site. This is the Don Mills area. Leaside Don Mills really came up in the 1960s when mid-century modern architecture was sort of at the forefront, and IBM had their headquarters here. They had their main office on site, as well as some manufacturing facilities and research labs from Celestica. So over 64 acres. It was all employment land. When we went to the city with the proposition for rezoning, master plan community, giving back some of those jobs that were originally here was important also for the builder and for the city. So the master plan community consists of residential, retail, office space, where actually groups of Celestica affiliates are moving back into our office space at Crosstown Place. There's going to be a community center also. So 64 acres in total. We started on the west side with two buildings, Tower 1 and Tower 2 in 2019. They sit on top of the original 1967 John Parkin building. John Parkin was a Canadian architect, famed for this mid-century modern style that you see here. We had the Imperial Oil Building next door, Bata. So this style of mid-century modern architecture was something that the city really wanted to preserve. Tower 1, Tower 2, and Tower 3, which was released a year later, had that original facade that we were privileged enough to retain. So we've retained the original architecture with new striking towers rising above. At the back of the site where the IBM headquarters was, we were able to demolish some of the buildings that didn't have that historic significance. And we sort of juxtaposed that striking, more sort of 90-degree and darker architecture with crest that has a lot more curved, curb appeal, brighter facades with a lot of sort of white precast and balconies and terraces that are quite tiered, giving a total contradiction to the two styles of architecture. Lily, our most recent mid-rise building, it sits on 2 acres, so it's a small building. It's only 9 stories in total. It sits over 2 acres with 220 units in total, but it has a really nice open courtyard. So our courtyard is lush and green, gives a really nice open feeling, overlooks the townhome community. And the building was named Lily because if you look at the building from like a dorsal perspective, from a bird's eye view, the way that the balconies are structured, the way that they undulate, is representative of the petals of a lily flower.
Okay.
So a lot softer architecture compared to Tower 1, 2, 3, and I think that's really the beauty of it, is kind of that contrast between the two styles of building. That's on block 12. That's a residential block. For the townhome community in the middle, we have in total there will be 212 townhomes. We've released so far about just over 56 of them, and we have 2 different styles. They're freehold townhomes, which is quite rare in this Leaside and Don Mills area. Having 2 different styles allows us to create courtyard, backyard townhomes. They sit on 120 deep lots. They have separate walk-up basements, which is quite rare. They have 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, something that you don't see in this area. Finished basements also have a separate entrance, which you could use for having a student, an older child in there, maybe somebody that's going through school or university. It feels almost like a private apartment, right? And then the townhome collection with the terraces, that collection is a little bit smaller. So instead of the backyards, you have rooftop terraces. Same amount of space is dedicated to the outdoors, except it's positioned on the top. Both of those townhomes have private elevators, which is really nice. So the elevator will connect you right up to the rooftop terrace. So having that selection in conjunction with Lily offers purchasers the ability to either go into a condo, maybe in their later years, as we see some family members from this Don Mills area here looking for downsizing. Because we haven't started construction yet, what we were able to do was create some bigger units by combining units. So if you wanted a larger unit on a single floor, we have that opportunity. We have smaller units and a selection of larger 2s and 3s family-sized units. But if you want a more traditional sort of home feel, a little bit more vertical, townhomes are also available here. Not only that, but later on as you go towards the east, that's where our zoning changes and we become a little bit more mixed use. So those condos, and that's where the majority of the density will be, those condos will have retail space on the bottom. You're gonna have retail space, you're gonna have shops, restaurants, patios. The street, D'Angelo Way, is more pedestrian-friendly shopping avenue. We're just steps away from Don Mills. Shops at Don Mills is roughly about 2 kilometers away, so very close. But if you imagine a very similar style to shops at Don Mills, going to be right here, right along the Don Mills corridor at Crosstown. Right at the corner of Don Mills and Eglinton, the first building that was actually put into construction was our office building. Office building that Metros Properties is involved with, our sister company. The office building was first put into construction because our crews had to work together with Metrolinx in order to create a tunnel. So you're connected by a tunnel to the Science Center station. Science Center station has the bus terminal on the ground floor, the underground level, which connects the office to underneath Don Mills Road to the underground station of the Eglinton LRT. Eglinton LRT is going to be hopefully operating within the next few months.
Hopefully.
They're doing the tests now. We see the trains doing tests now. So I think we're heading in the right direction there in time. And not only that, but also the Ontario line. Ontario line is now in construction. City of Toronto, Metrolinx, is a consortium of companies that are working on that. They started first with the downtown area because that's an underground endeavor. So a lot more work involved over there. Here we're going to have something above ground. So you'll be at the junction of LRT and the Ontario line and of course the bus terminal.
Yeah, I think the area itself, or the intersection of Don Mills and Eglinton, will be very different in a few years to come. And I know you gave a lot of information, and I want to unpack that a little bit. First, I know the community itself that's going to be built here will basically include everybody, right? So you got your townhouses, you got your corporate clients, you got the retail clients, you got your condos, so you can basically have everybody and build the community, right? Eventually you guys will get into the parks. But coming up to the 3 towers that were released a few years ago, and then I think Crest and Lily, and then your townhouses, one of the things that I think is quite nice and that we talk to people about is that look at a project or look at a developer that's building a master plan community that has phases to come. Because when you get into the first phase, right at the beginning, you're bound to make money, right? Because as you're releasing other phases, other buildings, the goal for the builder is that the price will go up if it makes sense. And I know some of our clients who have bought in the first phase or the first building, second building, that they would eventually see those returns. right? And um, I think price-wise, or even what the goal is for the area, is quite nice because it's all gonna grow. And what you talked about, the corporate tower with the tunnel and the connection to the LRT station is hard to find in other places.
It's hard to find 64 acres in Toronto proper for any builder to work on, so there's a lot of unique aspects to this project.
And then the townhouses that are being built with private elevators for your elderly people that still want to be in Toronto, that still want to be in the areas where they're used to, right? They don't want to leave Leaside. They don't want to leave shops in Don Mills. They don't want to leave Don Mills and Eglinton. They probably don't want to deal with the detached houses, but they can get into the townhouses with the elevator, so they don't have to worry about stairs, right?
Exactly.
So I believe those features are really, really nice, and it serves different age groups, different communities. And I know the area is really well situated because you're right by the DVP, south and north. You're close to downtown, you're close to Midtown, you're close to 401 and 404 and 407, right? So you got everything here. I feel like eventually Don Mills and Eglinton will be an extension to Midtown.
Of course.
Right? Because your commute, if when the LRT is running eventually, will be quite short, right? So you could eventually be very close to Don Mills and Yonge and Eglinton, live at Don Mills and Eglinton, not pay Yonge and Eglinton prices, but have the convenience of using the LRT. And now eventually, if the north and south line is built as well, I think like this is, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think it's a gold mine because you have north and south you have an LRT, east and west you have the LRT, you got DVP 401, 407, 404, like what else do you want?
Connectivity is really key here, and the Ontario line is going to even make it easier, because with the Ontario line, it's an express line. It was always touted as sort of the relief line originally, and always as an express line. It's going to take you 4 stops to get to Queen and Yonge. So it's going to cut your time very, very short. Of course, Eglinton LRT is going to be wonderful for the homeowners and people that work in this area. Ontario line, I think, is just going to be the cherry on top.
Because I know I used to, so from Don Mills and St. Denis, I used to go to Ryerson. So I would take the 25, go to Pape Station, and then take the subway from there. Not a long commute, probably about 35 to 40 minutes on a bad day, maybe an hour. But like, it wasn't bad, right? But now it'll be more convenient for people to go to downtown. I'm assuming probably half of what I used to do. And then even by car, it's probably about 15, 20 minutes to downtown from here, because you hop on DVP and Don Mills, and then you are at, I guess in the core of downtown in about 20 minutes. So like you said, connectivity is like huge. And when people are looking to invest or buy into a place where they're going to be for a few years, I think transit connectivity is like the main factor. So I know we always say location, location, location. That's the thing that we always talk about, but transit connectivity and also the builder, right? I think all those combined makes Crosstown a good option. Not the only option, but it's a good option for people to indulge into.
If you have the foresight to see what will transpire in a couple of years once the connectivity is actually operating. Community center is coming here also, so we have a state-of-the-art community center, 125,000 square feet. Denzel Wong, when he was the councillor in this ward, he was really instrumental in getting this approved, making sure that the city benefits from it. Not only Crosstown, but the city as a whole, the neighborhood as a whole. New hockey rinks, 2 new ice pads, new swimming pools, lots of services for the neighborhood, the children, the seniors that are in here. Townhomes you mentioned. Townhomes allow people to live with multi-generational households because it allows that townhouse option, and that elevator option allows for people to stay in a home longer than sometimes is comfortable.
Yeah.
When stairs are involved, of course.
And you mentioned Foresight,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's really important when you're looking at pre-con because I typically deal with people that are doing resale and either buyers or investors that are looking at pre-con, right? And when I am dealing with them, taking them to a sales center or bringing them to you, whereas in the builder rep, what you're telling them about the project, I feel like it all comes down to perceiving what it will be 5 or 10 years from today, and that's really important. So some people really like resale because they want to go into the building, they want to touch the product, they want to make sure they can visualize and see everything, right? Mm-hmm. And it's another thing when we're selling properties, houses and condos, why we stage, because we want to give the buyer the perception, okay, hey, this is how it will look like. And I feel there is a certain buyer for pre-con and then a certain buyer for resale, but the mindset is different on both, right? And you have to be able to see what it will look like 5 years from today, 10 years from today. And this is something that people should really look forward to because it will be a very good patch in the future.
That's how builders look at it also when they buy land, right? When a builder buys land, they look at where highways are going. They look at where things are moving, right? Because they also need to have that foresight of where are these communities going to need to be built.
Yeah, and I guess because we're talking about the future here, where do you think this project or this corner of Don Mills and Eglinton will be in 5 to 10 years from today? Because I know maybe you and I know the value, we can see the value, we are in the industry, so we probably see it from a different lens, right? But for a potential buyer or potential investor, your comments on that to maybe shed some light on that.
So in 5 to 5, 6, 7 years, we're going to have just around 2,000 units already ready here. You're going to have Crosstown Tower 1, 2, 3, Crest, Lily at the end of 2027, early 28, let's say. Townhomes, which take a whole lot shorter of a time frame to construct, maybe about 15 months or so on average. There's going to be a lot of different product here that's available. Some will be on the resale market, I suspect, at that time. Our purchase prices are very attractive. I think the incentives that a lot of builders are coming out with now are very attractive. So somebody going into the market now definitely has an opportunity to pick up something at a price with the incentives, with caps of 0 for Lily, for example, development charges, education, parkland, levies, Section 37 are capped at 0. This is something that's saving a lot of closing costs for a lot of people, keeping prices reasonable, keeping prices on the lower end, and giving more opportunity for more benefits when you are looking at maybe reevaluating your purchase in a few years, looking at either refinancing or moving into something a little bit bigger. So really good opportunities on the horizon from a lot of builders. Aspen Ridge Homes has been really aggressive with what has been offered with Lily and with the townhomes. The townhomes, if you look at usually we don't calculate it on a price per square foot, but when you look at a townhome in Toronto proper, that's in the $650 per square foot range, that's unheard of.
Yeah, and you basically jumped ahead because my next question was incentives and what is happening at Aspen at Crosstown right now, because I know you guys have some really good incentives. So you already mentioned them. So capped levies.
There's a lot of them. So there is for Lily, namely for Lily, Lily is a mid-rise building. It's going to be ready in 2027, but we're going straight to final closing. So there's no interim occupancy, which is really great.
I want you to talk about that because I know, like I've been working in pre-con for a decade. I'm sure you have been doing it for way more than me. And occupancy and the final closing, people are still so confused about both of them. And I know sometimes from occupancy to closing, sometimes it takes 3 to 4 months, sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months. So why is it important and why is it an incentive for that you guys are offering now where people go straight from construction to final closing and no occupancy?
purchasers have to be aware that with new construction condos are, if you're buying a condo, you're buying that unit, but you're also buying like a share of a company essentially, right? So when you're entering into an agreement of purchase and sale with a new build condo, not resale, but also just a new build condo, you're agreeing to purchase a unit. You have a criterion, you have a date, a tentative occupancy date that said occupancy means when you get your keys, when you get possession of the unit, not when you get ownership, not when you get your actual deed, right? So in order for a builder to transfer the deed, the condo corporation has to be registered. Who registers the condo corporation? The city does. Builders apply for the registration. We get comments back from the city with anything that has to be completed, anything that has to be revised, or everything is all good and the process continues, and the building then gets a registration, Toronto standard condo number, and all homeowners at that time usually close at the same time. Everybody gets a different occupancy date based on when we get occupancy certificates from the city and the inspectors. So when you move in a building, you're moving in a few different units at the same time in one day. So it'll take a couple of months to occupy a building. When you occupy a building, you're paying an occupancy fee in a new construction. Occupancy fees comprise of an estimate share of property tax. It's an estimate because MPAC hasn't assessed the building yet. They don't recognize it as a building yet. The estimate share of property tax, the maintenance fee. So maintenance fee is already being paid because the building is already operating. You've already got your security concierge, your elevators are working, hallways are lit, building is insured, etc., etc. Facilities are either near completion or already complete. Last component of that interim occupancy fee. Interim occupancy fee also comprises of the interest on the balance outstanding. So if a builder asks, typically around 20% is what we ask, right? Usually, a builder would ask for 15% of the purchase price over about a 15-month period, with the last 5 due on your occupancy date. Balance outstanding, 20%. The interest portion of the balance outstanding, as you know, in the life of a mortgage, you're always paying more interest in the beginning rather than principal. So it is higher in interest. That interest that you're paying, that interest on the balance outstanding that you're paying, doesn't go towards your mortgage. That's paying the loan of carrying the building as a builder. Construction loans,
of course,
have interest as well. So it's that interest component. Doesn't go towards your mortgage. So a lot of people feel like they pay something that it doesn't help them pay down their asset. This is something that we've now incentivized. Builder is taking on the risk of paying that for a longer period of time because typically you would be able to allow a homeowner to move in at that time. Aspen Ridge has seen that because the interest rates are now higher than they were in the last few years, that interest portion is higher. So in order for a homeowner not to have those surprises, not to have that extra burden on them, we've avoided the whole interim occupancy period. So you're going to go straight to final closing. Now, final closing is something that is determined by the city. We apply, but they have to respond. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes a little shorter. COVID kind of skewed the time frames of a lot of the procedural paperwork and documentation and PDIs and construction in general. I remember when the first building that I was involved in, this Miller was in office and City of Toronto workers went on strike. What happens then? Your registration paperwork isn't being reviewed or processed. Occupancy certificates so that you can move in aren't being issued because city workers are on strike. So a builder doesn't have full say in when a building gets registered. The city, in fact, does. Having said that, it could be months, it could be days, depending on where you are in the building. I've heard of some stories that are quite lengthy, and unfortunately, you know, that does take a big chunk of change out of people's budgets sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people are moving from something that they already owned, and maybe they have a mortgage that they are bridging, right? You'll only be able to do that for so long.
On the pre-con side, there is a lot of moving pieces, right? Like I know, I maybe because I've been in the industry, I know that the goal for the builder is to just build and give occupancy or give, I guess, final closing and the deed to the buyer, because that's how the builder makes money. But there's so many moving pieces that I know that at times it does prolong the process, and it's not in the builder's hand because there's so many moving pieces. I know when we do resale transactions, there's so many moving pieces, and I always tell my clients that, hey, I'll try to do whatever I can to make sure that it's all smooth, right? And at times when it's not in my control, we'll still try to manage it, but because there's moving pieces, I can't manage everything, right? Because everything's not controlled by me, even though we try to. Same thing, I think, on the construction side, builder side, there is the whole construction process and contractors and everything, then the city side, then the legal side and other pieces, right? So I know that there is so many pieces, and that's why it's important to work with a builder or a developer that is reputable but also has been in the industry for a while, so they know the process and the process is smooth. A lot of time what happens is that, I'm sure on the builder side as well, but even on my side when I'm dealing with somebody, the goal is that it all goes very smooth so they're very happy, right? Because you don't want to leave a sour taste in the buyer's mind or mouth, right? So you want to make sure that it's good, but because there's moving pieces, you can't control that. And the buyers or the clients also have to understand that, because there's only so much we can do, so much the builder can do, but the reputation does come into play. Absolutely. And that's why it's important to work with somebody like Aspen Ridge to make sure that it doesn't get ruined, right? And in terms of the occupancy and the final closing, I think it's important to mention that again, because people are saving money that way, right? Your payments are all going towards the mortgage rather than just the interest, maintenance, and property taxes, which used to be okay, but I think as the market is changing, the builders and I guess we as professionals in the industry have to pivot. And I think that is a pivot that is happening right now in the construction industry to make the process better, but also make sure that it's better and like a better decision for the buyers to make. Because if the process is going on, and I've seen some buildings where the buyers are living in a construction site, right?
And you have to remember too that a builder doesn't benefit from a long interim occupancy period. In new construction condos, deposits aren't made to a builder. Deposits are made in trust to a lawyer. A builder doesn't get to see the final the final benefits of this project completion until registration. So there is no use for a builder having a long interim occupancy period. Builders and homeowners are on the same page there. They want it to be quick and efficient and a nice smooth closing.
It's in their benefit, but also for the buyers. Now that we are seeing no occupancy and straight to closing, I think it's a really good step forward, because they're able to enjoy the property when it's finished, closed, and it basically keeps everybody accountable, right? And the next thing that I know is quite nice, and you're probably one of the first to do it, is no development charges.
Zero development charges on Lily, really low development charge on the townhomes, 1,500 plus tax.
And how do you guys manage that?
The builder takes the risks of that, because we don't know if there's a new tax that will be increased, a new tax that will be introduced, if there's anything between the time of purchase, the time of us making a price list for a particular project, to completion time. The city, municipality, province, they could introduce new taxes, they could increase levies on taxes. You and I and the builder cannot foresee that. We didn't foresee COVID. We can't foresee this, right? So it's a risk the builder takes, certainly. And as we've all been reading, development charges are getting higher and higher.
Over the last, I was reading a post somewhere, and I actually made a post on my account about this, that a big chunk of the purchase price is inserted because of all three different levels of the government. So development charges, or this tax or that tax. So I think there's a lot of work to be done as a whole from all three levels of government, but also the builder, because affordable housing is not getting affordable because these taxes are going up, development charges are going up, right? So I feel like there's a lot more work left to be done, but I think with the no occupancy, with the low or non-existent development charges on the townhouses in Lily, it's a very good start to the process, I think.
Absolutely. Aspen Ridge also has a long history with Habitat for Humanity. So we do a lot with affordable housing. There's going to be a little bit of a component for the Block 12 also with some affordable housing that we are working with Habitat for Humanity on. You're going to see that not too far away from Crest.
Nice. And it's good to know. It's like in the last 30 minutes that we've been having a chat, I learned a few things already. And it's just, I guess, you learn every day. Right?
This industry changes every day. Every project is different. Laws, rules, regulations, finances. Things change all the time, so we're always learning, and that's kind of the beauty of this industry too. It's never the same. Every day is different.
Always, and I think it goes back to your first point that you made: education, right? Just always being informed and always learning. Now, moving forward, so I want to get your opinion on this because I know we both get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do a lot more than I do in terms of why pre-con, right? Why not resale? Because right now, as we know, the resale market is a little bit damp. There is a lot of inventory out there. Prices are down, but what is the advantage of somebody picking? I know you've already mentioned one or two while we were talking, but what is the advantage of buying pre-con compared to resale? Because sometimes maybe resale doesn't make sense or pre-con doesn't make sense, but what do you say on that?
With pre-construction, there's a couple of things that you have to look at. With pre-construction, you are buying something that is going to be ready. If it's a condo, it's going to be at least 4 years usually, right? Deposits, if they're stretched out, for a lot of people, especially entering in the market, it's easier to be able to spread those deposit payments over the course of the prescribed payment schedule. Yeah. In our case, it's 5% each calendar year. You have 1 year to save up a subsequent 5%, which is a lot more doable than coming up with a lump sum and getting approved. You also have time for, maybe if you're somebody that is just finishing school, or maybe you're a young family and you're just starting a life together. Sometimes your situation now where you are is not something that would be able to get you to a condo or a home that you want to be in, but you know that your job is going to take you there. You know that you're going to finish school, you're going to be maybe paid off your school loans, debts, etc. Maybe you're going to be a 2-income household in 3 or 4 years. So you're able to make that decision, feeling a lot more comfortable, knowing that you have that time to make those deposit payments, have that time behind you. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the bigger attributes. Cost of construction isn't going down. Cost of replacement costs for construction isn't going down. So if you're buying something that is currently ready, you're going to have to renovate. You're going to have to bring it to a certain standard that you're comfortable with, unless you're buying something that's, builder inventory, which in a lot of cases is a great option also. But in a case of a pre-construction, you're choosing everything. You're choosing your finishes, features, you're tailoring the home to your liking, to your taste. You also have a warranty behind you, which is really great. You have up to a 7-year warranty for any structural defects. Usually with new constructions, maintenance fees are also more in check than with older buildings.
Yes.
If an older building it requires some more work, maybe some special assessments. Lily, for example, has geothermal heating.
Yes.
Something that we are implementing because, as you know, there's a lot of talk about zero carbon 2040, yes. Different initiatives, yes. The city, province, Canada has as a whole. And Lily will be something that is already going to meet those criterias once that is in place. Shouldn't have any retrofit costs. You shouldn't have any special assessments.
And I know with Lily, what you guys are also doing, every parking spot is an EV parking spot,
you got
right?
It.
So I know, I maybe for the lack of my knowledge, but I'm like, how are we going to retrofit the older buildings for EV because they're trying to go, I don't know in what year they want all EV cars. That is going to be a big project for people. And I know some of the buildings that are being built right now still don't offer EV as a standard, and I think it should be standard everywhere now because
The option
we're
should
going
be.
that
Yeah.
we're going that way. So, but I know where you guys have taken that initiative already, and I think it's good to see because this should be standard everywhere now, right?
It's hard to do after the fact. I mean, you have to look at how much power load a building or a
100%.
certain area is able to handle. If it's an older building, maybe you wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah.
You have to get approval from your property management, from the boards. Something
Yeah.
like that isn't always the easiest to.
No, because after the fact, it's always hard.
Exactly.
And I know with Lily right now, the payment structure also is very nice. So one of the incentives of buying pre-con is you're buying time to save up and then eventually put the money down and then close 4 or 5 years from today. Because people used to or still ask, well, the rates are high right now. I don't want to get into a property. But again, pre-con is a very good option then because then 4 years from today, the hope is that the rates will be lower. They've already started to come down, but hopefully they'll be lower 4 or 5 years from today. But the luxury of saving your down payment, and I know with Lily, the down payments are, if I'm not wrong, 5% a year right now, correct?
Yeah.
So that is a huge incentive if somebody is in school or, I guess, looking to get into the market or looking to have that better job or be at a better stage at their life and then eventually get into a property. So I think that's a very good incentive where you have time on your side to save up. And I know a lot of investors love that because they don't have to dump 20% right now.
They don't have 20% often just laying around.
That
right?
too,
Yeah.
right? But on the resale side, you got to dump 20% in 60 days, right? But one more thing that you mentioned initially that with Lily, you have the ability to connect two units and have a bigger unit if you want, right?
For a limited time, until we start construction. With buildings where we've already started construction,
Can't do that.
we can't play like that anymore. The fact that Aspen Ridge is agreeable to entertaining this is fantastic. It's not always the case.
But that's the beauty, right? Because sure, you're downsizing from an X property or X asset class to a condo, but you can still have a very nice life depending on what your lifestyle is at a condo if you can join it, and you have the luxury in pre-con where you can't have that in resale.
Absolutely not. In the cases where we have done these combinations, we were able to achieve 2,000, 2,400 square feet. Of course, purchaser has their input as to how they want that space utilized, how it will best
Yes.
serve them, what they would need. So the team behind Aspen Ridge, Lily, our high-rise construction department, we've been doing them for different projects over the years. Lily is one of them. But I noticed that especially when we moved on site here. When we moved on site, we had a lot of people from the area, from the Don Way, from Leaside.
Yes.
Exactly that. They've got homes, they've got larger homes. They're thinking about their future. They want to have something that's sort of more turnkey. Leave it alone for a couple of months, go travel, come back home, have a beautiful place that you feel comfortable and not cramped in, suited to your taste.
It's all
outdoor
about
space. Lily has beautiful
It's
outdoor
all about
terraces.
that lifestyle, right? Like I know my business is wrapped around the concept that we do everything that we can, but wrapped around your lifestyle to make your life better, right? And one of the ways we do that is through education, where we tell you what we know, and then you're able to make an informed decision, right? When people ask, well, I mean, what's going to happen tomorrow? You and I don't have that answer, right? I was going to ask you, this will lead into our next question. Where do you see the pre-con market, or where do you see the condo market 5 years from today? Because I know that's the talk that everybody is talking about right now. Well, the condo market is X, Y, and Z. But where do you see the condo market 5 years from today? What do you predict?
I think that the rate of appreciation that we saw in the last couple of years wasn't typical. It wasn't typical of...
It wasn't healthy.
It wasn't healthy,
No.
I agree. It wasn't typical of something that we were looking at over the span of the last 15 or 20 years, even 10 years, right? So I think it'll normalize. I think it'll normalize to a more steady and healthy pace as we're used to. I think interest rates are likely to head that way also, a little bit more of a healthier. The incredibly low interest rates were fantastic, but they weren't something that we should have been getting used to because it wasn't realistic. It was something that was too low, I think, a little bit artificially low.
It wasn't healthy for the market, right? The appreciation wasn't healthy and the interests were not healthy. People always say that you and I as realtors or on the builder side, Aspen Ridge, and like we are the ones that raise prices. We are the ones that it's in our favor, right? But it's not because we want prices to be healthy. I don't want 10%, 15% appreciation every year. It's not healthy, right? Because if you look at that, then prices will be really high in a few years and nobody will be able to afford them.
And it won't be affordable, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want healthy, realistic appreciation so everybody can enjoy and we're all living a healthy life in terms of interest rates, in terms of appreciation, and in terms of everything else, right? I think there needs to be a good balance. And we can't and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we want to make the best informed decision today based on what we know. Because people always ask me, I'm sure they ask you too, well, an X condo is $650,000 right now. What do you see in 5 years from today, right? Where do you see it going? So I always tell people that, hey, a conservative 4% appreciation, 4.5%, depending on which area, maybe 5% is quite healthy.
Healthy. I agree with you, 100%.
So if you bank on 4% appreciation a year, which is a conservative number, and you work with that for the next 4 years, and then when you close, you do your math, that's healthy, right? But is it going to double from 650 to X? Probably not, and it shouldn't.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. I think 5% is something that that we should be more focused on, because that's historically what we've been seeing.
Yes.
Right. What we saw more recently was a little bit outside of our norm, and I think that homeowners also have to realize that you're not going to see the 4 years from now you're going to double like.
No, it's not healthy, and they shouldn't. And I think a lot of that comes into like if you're hoping for that flip, 4 years from today it's doubled and I can make money and be a millionaire. That's gambling, right? That's not what you expect. Because the more time you're in the market, in the real estate industry, owning a property, that's where you make money.
Exactly.
It's not like we didn't even go into assignments, but there was all this talk that you buy a property, you flip it in 2 years, you make $100,000 and whatnot, but the government and CRA has also caught on. So there's steps to, there's been steps added to control that as well. Now, last question, and then we'll go on to I guess last question, then we'll go on to the ending of the podcast. But you working in real estate, you working with a very prominent builder, what do you see rewarding for you in your role and in the pre-con industry?
I love seeing people who are buying something that they're excited about. It's going to be their home. Emotional purchases. The analytical side of it is always fun, looking at the markets, looking at what's happening with our country, the world as a whole. That's always another aspect which I always enjoy, looking at it from a broad financial markets sort of perspective. But I think the emotional rewards that you see of people buying something that they're going to live in, that they're going to raise their families in, that they're going to start maybe their lives in. I think that's always great, and being able to find something suitable for them, something that they're excited about.
It's very fulfilling to see that you're helping somebody achieve their dream, right? I know in the social media world now that real estate is a very glamorous and flashy business or industry to be in, but I feel like once you bring it back and you're looking at it from the lens that we're helping somebody and respecting their money and respecting their needs and wants and telling them, hey, this might be, because when we bring people into the sales center, there is lots of floor plans, right? But I know that you help narrow them and be like, okay, well, according to your needs, this is what might be suitable because you have access to all of those. You see those, right? We might not see them every day. And buyers or future buyers might not see or understand the floor plans fully, but you're in a position to guide them and tell them that, hey, this is what it could be based on what you have told me, right? And finding out that why, very
Questions.
important.
Buyers get inundated with questions when they're in front of an agent like you, or when they come in here and see us. We ask a lot of questions because we want to make sure that we understand what they're looking for to best serve and best show them what we have on offer.
Finding out that why, I
Yeah.
think, right? Like, what are you looking to do and what's the end
What's your
goal?
long-term, what's your short-term goals? What are, exactly, where are you now? A lot of the times people also just buying from a floor plan, some people don't have that, they're not able to read a floor plan the same way that they can feel a space.
It's hard to envision.
So many times that we pull out our tape measures and we play with our presentation center.
I know.
Imagine,
I know. We like.
We did that with you. Actually,
you and I were here.
Yes. I recall now. The balcony.
Few months ago, and then the potential buyer was really confused about how big the balcony would be. So you were very helpful. You did your thing. You pulled out a tape. You pulled out the green painting tape, and you just laid it out. And he was able to walk in the balcony, which is very nice. Thank you for that. But it's also something that we, as professionals in the industry, should do. Because
it's second nature to us to know this, but not everybody looks at floor plans every day, and that's something we have to remember.
We have to respect that because we're doing it every day. So you and I are quite well versed in the contracts, in the terms, X, Y, Z, but they're not. So we have to bring it to their level, whereas it make it very easy, right? We don't gotta use the technical terms, right? And one thing that I have implemented in my business is called Real Estate Action Plan, and we call a financial checkup from the neck up, and we basically find out what your goals are, right? Why are you buying this XYZ property? Why, like, is it because of passive investments? Are you looking for cash flow? Are you looking for appreciation? Like, what are you looking for, right? And once we find that out, then and only then we can tell you what's best, right? Because there's so many options. Real estate, I think, under the umbrella has so many options, and it's just not hard assets. They could be soft assets as well, right? There's so many different options. So I can go on and on all day, and I'm sure you can as well.
I enjoy this topic.
100%. But let's move on to the last round. And before I do that, I want to ask you, is there anything else that you would like to mention, talk about, something that I've missed, or talk about your current inventory with builder inventory with Aspen Ridge?
So in Crosstown, we've covered Lily, we've covered the great incentives, the zero interim occupancy, the zero development charge, the stretch deposit structure. Assignment is something that we are allowing, free assignment. There's parking, EV parking, as you know. Beautiful floor plans, 86 unique floor plans. So, I mean, the building, we just won an award for Best Mid-Rise Design from the Build Awards. So it's something that we're very proud of. Our townhomes, people have been waiting for them since we launched in 2019. We've been getting registrations and people coming in constantly. I see that you're gonna have townhomes. Finally, they're available, they are on the market. They're priced really well for a downtown property that's over 2,000 square feet, 2,200 to 2,800 square feet. Anywhere from 1.5 million freehold. Great incentives there, free elevators, free Miele appliances, air conditioning, central vac. Essentially, our finishes and features in the townhomes are what you would consider like a level 2 upgrade as a standard. So that's something that we're really happy to have. But we also have some inventory units. We have inventory units in our West project. West is downtown. It is right near the Stack Market at Bathurst and Front Street. Niagara and Tecumseh, to be exact. Actually, we're in the process of registration, going back to the conversation of registration. We are in interim occupancy there, and we are in the process of registration. We're going to be registered this summer. But we do have some units that the builder has, so We have anywhere from one bedroom plus 10, up to 3-bedroom family-sized units. And they're available for quick possessions. Builder is also doing great incentives with inventory homes. Now you're seeing, we have the Lily incentive of 0 interim occupancy. Where we are in an interim occupancy period, the builder has decided to provide an incentive where you aren't paying the interest portion of the balance outstanding. So while in interim occupancy, you're paying for the units that we have available, the maintenance and the estimate share of property tax, which gets adjusted back to you at closing. So it definitely makes the buying process easier when buying something that isn't registered yet. An abundance of different unit sizes is available. We've got really nice south-facing units. We've got ground floor suites with private walk-ups.
Nice.
And there's also a historic facade, a historic building that is on the north side called the Essery. The Essery was on the same lands when we acquired it at 89 Niagara or 9 Tecumseh, as we've registered the West project. And that's a historic building. It was built in 1870s. It was the Essery family that built it, and it was used for different types of industry, but it was a nice red brick building. In some cases, it was 3 stories. It was actually a series of 5 different buildings that were assembled together. What Aspen Ridge has done in acquiring the land, we are going to be essentially scooping out all of the insides, maintaining the whole brick facade of the building, and just adding on 1 level, the 5th floor, which is going to create 2-story penthouses with beautiful terraces. We have units that go up to almost 2,200 square feet there. We have some units that are 1 bedroom plus 10, but more larger units, more end user type of product, exposed bricks, high ceilings. You have exposed I-beams where we have structural supports on the 4th and 5th floors. We have wet bars that feed out to the large terrace spaces. Again, this is something that we're working on. The full scope of construction hasn't started entirely yet. We're going to have 2 different crews actually working. We're going to have like a heritage construction restoration team, and then we're going to have our new build construction team. And because we are still able to do something like with Lily, we're still able to do a little bit of modification until we start that construction process.
And from what you're telling me about the project, it seems like it's geared towards end users, not investors.
That one is more end users.
Right.
We've sold units in that building, and from the conversations that we have in meeting who is buying the units, a lot of the people who are purchasing, this is their Toronto home. This is their Toronto home. This is a little feather in the hat. It's close to everything. You're steps away from King Street. You're steps away from all of the livelihood of Toronto. If you want to be, but you're on a quiet little residential street, quiet little residential tree-lined street that feels like a breath of fresh air, definitely. But you're also, in terms of connectivity, the Ontario line is going to come to King and Bathurst. So you're steps away from the Ontario line, theaters, financial
it's finally
district.
all getting connected.
It is.
Toronto is finally getting connected, right?
We have a lot of parks that are on the south side also. Fort York, Ordnance Park also is now being reimagined. Liberty Village is sort of becoming more of a part of the neighborhood also, and the parklands are definitely what is connecting us.
And from what you're telling me, it seems like you and Aspen Ridge are making people's dreams come true of owning something in Toronto, because that is the dream, right? Owning something in Toronto and being right in the center, right? I know some people eventually get tired out and they want to go in the suburbs and be quiet, but there are some very nice pockets in Toronto that are still quiet and you can enjoy living there, just as people do outside.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
I know less land, but you can still enjoy. One question that I want to ask you in the beginning, but I forgot. As you can tell, I'm still new to this, so I'm going back to my notes and be like, what did I forget? Updates on Crosstown 1, 2, and 3. So I know I have a lot of buyers that have bought in building 1 and 2. Just so I can go back to them with something, what's the update on that? Like,
Very good timing actually. So yesterday we had our roof topping of Tower 1.
okay,
Crest, as you see outside of our windows over here, Crest had the roof topping last year in September. So we've already formed Crest, even though it was the fourth building
right?
to launch. Because it's smaller, the pace of construction was a lot faster.
Yeah.
Now Tower 1 has completed, so we've poured the final slabs. The roof slab assembly notice letter will be going out to your purchasers soon. 2025, we're looking at 2025 occupancy still. That's
For
what we're
1 and 2?
1, 2, and 3, and
Perfect.
Crest. So
Okay.
we're still looking at 2025 dates. Our construction team members are still working with those dates in mind. You see a lot of windows going up now, and you're going to be getting more communications as the construction progresses. But 25 is still on target.
So this
Yeah.
area will be booming next year
Even
with
more
a
than
lot
it
of
is
people.
now, yeah.
Yeah. So much construction,
Yeah.
right? And I know that they're done developing the subway stations now, and a little bit less on the Eglinton LRT, and then now the construction for obviously Crosstown is still left, but a lot going on. Now, moving on to the last round, and I call it a lightning round, and I know the professional Alex, and just want to get into or dabble into a little bit of on the non-professional side, but just getting to know you a little bit more as to who you are as a person.
Sure.
Right? Favorite food?
Oh gosh, it depends on the day. I'm a foodie. I like everything.
Okay.
You know what I
Is there
really
something
miss?
you really prefer?
You know what I really miss? They opened up. I really like butter chicken from Tika on Gerard.
Okay.
They've been closed for a little bit. They just opened up their food truck recently, which is
Okay.
great. That's something that I've been craving that we haven't had to.
Is that your comfort food?
That is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really, and it's such a, it's a.
And do you enjoy it with rice or naan?
Naan.
Okay.
Naan.
Okay.
So actually, it was a colleague of mine that introduced me to that. So
I
I
love it
really
too.
like that. Bar Prima, delicious food. Somewhere where I recently have popped into a couple
Okay.
of times. Sushi, and then of course my mom's food.
Of
It's
course.
always nice to go home.
Of course,
and
you
eat your,
can never go wrong with that.
yeah.
I moved out about 2 years ago, but whenever I go back, always my mom's food.
Right? It
Very
tastes so much
comforting.
better after you move out too.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Oh God, there are so many good movies. It's a hard one for me to answer.
Okay.
I like anything that has. I like movies that have a little bit of sort of a crime aspect to
Okay.
them, where you're a little bit of a thriller.
Okay.
A lot of movies.
Okay. Any favorite shows then? Binge watch?
I've been watching Succession. I'm a little bit behind, but I've been watching Succession lately, and I've really been enjoying that.
I haven't watched that one yet.
A good one, and I'm really, there was a writer's strike, as you know,
Yes.
but I'm really waiting on White Lotus to come out with the new season. That was a really great show, too.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. What's one book that everybody should read?
You know what? I think in our industry, what's a good read that I recently read, although it's an older book, the book that Isidore Sharp wrote was a really educational book, I think, for me. The founder of the Four Seasons.
Okay.
Actually, he owned the plot of land right next door to us previously and on the park. I think that there was a wealth of knowledge about how he came in the business, because although he is a hotelier, there's a lot of real estate and there's a lot of customer service aspects
100%.
that I think realtors benefit from. So I think that that is something that realtors shouldn't sleep on.
I will write that in the notes of this episode. Favorite app?
Favorite at Waze.
Waze. Okay. Favorite music?
Favorite music? I like live music, but it depends on the mood. It
Okay.
depends on the mood. I listen to a lot of stuff that I grew up with. I listen to a lot of the 1990s, 2000s kind of
Okay.
stuff still. I feel like it's
Okay.
nostalgic. It's always fun. Growing up, when I was a kid, I always liked, my dad used to drive me to school, and I always liked listening to classic rock also, so
Okay.
that is fun. And then the modern stuff is always great too.
Yeah, but the modern stuff
Yeah.
is like, I mean, a lot has changed. The taste of music.
It's different.
The type
but there's
of music.
Still, yeah, there's still some fun stuff out there. A lot of it gets reimagined, right? A lot
Yes.
of the new stuff is, we recognize the melodies, the rhythms, and it's something that was sort of reimagined, right?
Yep.
So,
Favorite day of the week?
I want to say Friday because it's a day off, but that's not true, really.
Not in our industry.
No, it's not exactly. That's not necessarily true. I think I like Saturdays.
Okay.
I like Saturdays.
Is
I
that-
still come into work. It's a good. It's always nice to see my colleagues. It's always nice to see people. It tends to be a busier day of the week.
Yeah.
Saturdays, and then the afternoon and the evenings are always fun with other activities.
Yeah.
Especially in the city.
Dream holiday?
Dream holiday. I've never been to Croatia. I'd really love to see Croatia. I have a bunch of friends from there, and I always hear such nice things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, so what? So I used to listen to this podcast, and the host used to always ask his guests at the end, "What's a beautiful life to you?" So I would like to ask you that because I felt like that was a very nice question. So, what's a beautiful life to you?
Knowing that your friends and family are healthy, knowing that you don't have to stress about something, not having too much chatter in your head, and being able to have a nice rest at night, knowing that you've done the best that you can, and that you've made a difference to some people, knowing that
100%.
you feel good about how you handled yourself that day, every day. I think that's what it is.
And I know I can probably attest to this, that you probably do make a difference to people's life because of what you do here. And I believe we as professionals in the industry, if you do it the right way, you are making a change, right? And I know that from our interactions over the last few years, you have stayed true to that, because even though that the interaction was small and very fast paced, but there's still attention to detail that you have done. So thank you for that. But
Thank you.
it is something, what you have said is very true.
Thank
right?
you.
Now, if people do want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
They can definitely come into our presentation center. We're here at 844 Don Mills Road. We're here every day other than Fridays. We're here from 11 until 6. The Essery, you can call me directly, 416-894-3834. I'm sure you'll provide those details also.
100%.
And our email addresses. If you go on the Aspen Ridge Homes website, all of the details will be there for all the sites that I'm involved in, as well as my teammates from other projects.
100%. And I know people can always reach out to me and I can connect them to you
Of
and
course.
basically bring them in. But always want to
always
make sure that,
connected.
like, how can they connect with you, because maybe somebody has a question, right? So I hope that if you're still listening, this was valuable to you guys. And like, I know it was lots of learning for me, even though I know the project, I know the area, but you learn something new every day. So thank you for that. And if this was valuable to you as well, please share it with your friends, colleagues, your partner, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.